There was a leaked conference call between two different people, Myles Walton, who's an analyst from Germany's Deutsche Bank, and of course the I'm sorry, Marillyn Hewson, who's the chief executive of Lockheed Martin. So this is a conference call, about Lockheed Martin's earnings. They were talking together, and Myles Walton had a question about whether or not what would happen to the profit margins of Lockheed if a deal with Iran were struck. So let's listen to that call.
Maryland, as you look at the Middle East as kind of a customer base, and you think about the threats that exist there, that's one aspect. But the foreign policy and what we choose to do there is another. And just hypothetical, if the U.S. does move more towards a normalization with Iran over the nuclear activities, does that in any way impede what you see as progress in the foreign military sales front there from a DOS perspective? Thanks.
Thanks, Myles. Well, first, in answer to your question, we achieved 20% of our total sales on international sales in 2014. So we're pleased with that, and we have over $20 billion in our backlog at year end to that. We set a new goal to get to 25% over the next few years. Our growing international area is an important element of our strategy and growth for the company, and we see a lot of expanding demand for international growth, expanding demand on missile defense, on aircraft programs, on a range of things. To your question about foreign policy and normalization and things of that nature, in my discussions with our customers, that really isn't coming up. I mean, it's very clear to the Middle East region that dialogue is going on, but, front and center for them are the needs that they have today, what their critical national requirements are today. So our discussion is around those national security needs that they have, and there's certainly plenty of threats in the region. Just the volatility, even if there may be some kind of deal done with Iran, there is volatility all around the region, and each one of these countries believes they've got to protect their citizens, and the things that we can bring to them help in that regard. So similarly, that's the Middle East, and I know that's what you asked about, but you could take that same argument to the Asia-Pacific region, which is another growth area for us. A lot of volatility, a lot of instability, a lot of things that are happening both with North Korea as well as some of the tensions between China and Japan. And so in both of those regions, which are growth areas for us, we expect that there's going to continue to be opportunities for us to bring our capabilities to them.
Growth areas. Volatility equals growth. See, that's the problem. We have a defense industry, an industry that thrives on regional conflict. So yeah, don't worry about any deals with Iran. We always have plenty of more people to bomb. We're always going to have plenty more weapons to make and to use on the people in those areas. So don't worry. Your profits, your bottom line, in fact, we're going to grow to 25% in that area. Isn't that amazing? Defense One reported that over the next 5 years, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, and Jordan are expected to spend more than $165 billion on arms. Now, it's a good chance that a lot of that money is going to go to American defense contractors like Lockheed Martin. For example, just for example, Lockheed Martin, they're going to make a lot of money on regional instability. Regional instability that, oddly enough, a lot of us here in America have caused with a lot of our foreign policy issues. So even if we make a deal with Iran, they're projecting that we're going to have more growth, more war, more need to sell our weapons to other people. It's really kind of sickening. And I want to give props to Li Fang of The Intercept over at First Look Media, who actually published this recording. I don't know who recorded it personally, but he published it over there on his site to talk about this, to bring light to this issue. This is sick. I mean, here we have, our corporations, American corporations, which aren't actually American, selling weapons to pretty much anybody after we create instability in areas. So we create instability in the area by, for example, invading Iraq, destabilizing the area, and then our American corporations can come over and start selling everybody in the region weapons in order to defend themselves against volatile growth zones. It is really sickening, and it should really disturb everybody that this is what's happening, that people are profiting off other people being killed in war, because that's exactly what's happening.